Well, hello everyone. It's been a while since the last peak play, and hopefully you guys are having a fantastic time. If this isn't anything, this is foretelling of what's to come in the future. Not just only a full playthrough of Biomutant, but actually playthroughs in general, streams, uh, playthroughs just for you guys on YouTube, especially. And yeah, it's just kind of good to be back in a certain way. We haven't tested out the stream yet to see if the stream is still, working on that end. But hopefully it does work. By the time this video is up, we'll be streaming Friday. We're gonna start our stream on Friday, and kind of finally get going after almost 5 months. Speaking of 5 months, this game is almost 5 months old. Actually, it's probably just on the precipice of getting to being 5 months old. We got this game from THQ Nordic. Thank you, THQ and the devs, for allowing us to check out Biomutant. And I have actually played the game all the way through, so this is actually going to be one of those peak plays. Might not make a giant amount of sense at first when it comes to the whole concept of a peak play, which is to kind of go into the game blindly and see if the game can entice us to keep playing it in the future in a very short amount of time, and also get a general basis of what the game is. And yeah, this one's gonna be different. I kind of know how I feel about Biomutant and everything, but I'm still going to do a full playthrough of it because it was decent enough when I did play it to still merit a full playthrough of the game, and then also has probably dropped in price significantly to where it's going to be most likely at the end of this peak play and then the end of the playthrough where we do start it. Yeah, I'm going to flat out say it. It's worth checking out. It's different. It does have its negativities, but I also went through those negativities pre-patch. So I don't know if they patched anything out, but we're just gonna kind of go through everything a little bit here and there. Just kind of breeze along through the options, kind of give you guys a general consensus of how the game looks, works, feels, and if anything needs to be addressed, especially when it comes to later game, I will address it, since I am a person that has played it and beat it. We got motion blur. Yeah, there are a few options that I don't remember being in the game. Turning off motion blur, for instance. I don't remember being able to turn off motion blur. That's a big deal. It's gonna help a lot, to be honest. Camera shake. That's also a very big deal too. In case anyone's ever annoyed by camera shake, you can turn that off, or you can just reduce it a little bit. Depth of field. I do enjoy depth of field in certain games. First person is okay, depending on the actual type of first person it is, as long as it's not competitive. Yeah, keep depth of field on. Depth of field makes sense in this game because everything is smaller. You're a smaller creature, and well, you're technically supposed to be what was a smaller creature, probably now size of a human, in a world bigger than you, and it just kind of makes things a little bit. Makes it look a little bit more miniature-esque. Makes things look a little bit smaller than it is. So that depth of field actually kind of helps perceive the feel of the world. Alright, controls. I can toggle sprint, quick menu toggles, on and off if you want. I can invert if you're a sadistic bastard. That's how I feel when it comes to inversions of controls. you push up. If it's not a flying game, if you push up, you should be looking up. If it's a flying game, if you push up on the analog, you should be going down. That's what I believe in. By some Southpaw people out there that heavily disagree with me. Audio. You can change, of course, the audio levels of that, but you can also change the frequency. The narrator, I will warn you, for anyone that hasn't played this game, the narrator is actually way too frequent, even on this. As you can see, it's on 2. I had it on 3 at the end of the game. It was still too much. So now I'm putting it on 2. Is it going to still be too much? Who knows? I might have to leave it on 1. But it's at default 50. The gibberish is at default of 52 if I'm correct, unless they change that during the patches. Dialogue and dialogue and gibberish. See, yeah, you can have them both on, but if you really don't like the narrator that much, which is pretty much your one of 3 characters that I remember so far that actually has or speaks in an actual language that you can understand, yeah, if you don't want him on, you can just play the whole entire game in full gibberish if you want, which could actually help your total playthrough in case the narrator is messing with your playthrough and it just totally turns you off. So yeah, you have the option, which is good. I like the flexibility of where they provide the players. Alright, we got video. We can change the brightness and sharpening amount, the sharpening of details and certain objects and just the view in general. Mapping of buttons. You can change the mapping of buttons in this game, which is starting to become a rarity in console games. It's very limited. We'll say that. QET, oh yeah, QTE stuff. So this is accessibility options. You can have it autocomplete QTE stuff. So if you want it on, you can do it on. Auto advanced dialogue, turn that on. The thing is, it seems like that was one of the very few accessibility options this game actually has. And of course subtitles, which is standard. You usually have that in movies too. So if you don't have subtitles in your game or your movies or anything, kind of falling behind there. It's a little bit harder for people that make YouTube videos because they need a transcriber. That or they need something decent enough to do it automatically. But yeah, that's the settings. As you guys can see, there's a New Games Plus. New Game Plus in case for those who beat it. So that will transfer all of your progression, the gear that you currently own, and everything like that. And you can continue on with a fresh new start of the story to pretty much fully max out things that you want to max out and enjoy the story and in a way experience the story in a completely different way. So there is New Game Plus and Biomutant. So this game is not particularly hard. You can play this on the hardest difficulty. It will not give you too much of trouble. But we're going to be playing on medium just to show you where kind of medium lies, and that way you guys can gauge on where you want to put it.
Encode your DNA.
This is going to be our character creation screen. Treat these as templates. They're not going to be permanent. Later on in the game, there are areas in which you can change your character's cosmetics without actually it changing your stats. So there is going to be, later in the game, a way to change your character's looks without affecting any of the stats. So yeah, this is just templates for the stats and your character's look for now. It can eventually change it as you go on later into the game.
Define your genetic structure.
If we move this around, it changes the stats, and also changes your character's look very heavily. As of right now, I'm going to try and keep it in the middle so that way I can pretty much show you guys a little bit of everything. So we'll do that.
Choose a genetic resilience.
We'll keep the resistances in the middle just to kind of show you what the percentages do to each type of environment if we even get there. It's not going to be too long of a peak play since we are going to. This is already going to be guaranteed a full playthrough on the Twitch channel and of course YouTube.
Choose your first style.
And then we have first styles. Of course, I'm gonna just tap the randomizer button until I see something I like. I think yeah, let's check.
Pick your main color.
Check that out. Then we're going to make a color.
Choose your detail color.
That makes no sense. A color combination that really makes color theorists mad.
Pick a class.
Alright.
Commando.
And as for the classes, these are also just templates. Kind of like, think about it like choosing a class in Demon Souls or Diablo. It's just a beginning start of whatever the hell you're going to build later on in the game. The game has enough flexibility to where, yeah, you might start out with a rifle, but at the end of the game, you'll be wielding like daggers or a tool-handed, like pretty much a buster sword. Because there are combinations of gear that you can, like, I literally beat the game with a weapon that looked like Cloud's buster sword. So it was a little surreal. I was like, this is weird. Or you can play the whole entire game, magic only,
Saboteur.
and there's the dual wielding.
Sentinel.
I played the game, started as a sentinel, and pretty much kind of ended the game as a sentinel. So you can kind of stick with that path if you wanted, but it's not.
Commando.
It's not heavily
Deadeye.
recommended for people to kind of be strict about what they're gonna do in the game. As I said, the game is very flexible when it comes to. The game's not insanely difficult, so you'll have the ability to put, next time you level up, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna put all my points that I just got into intelligence. I'm gonna start using magic. And you can do that.
Sentinel.
I'll show you guys Sentinel.
Sentinel
And
chosen.
we're probably gonna do our full playthrough as a Sentinel.
Sounds good.
Alright. Player movement. We're gonna move with the left analog, look around with the right analog.
Here's somebody with a troubled past, drawn into the spotlight of a story that's already begun.
Oh. Yeah, got the whole.
We're
Burn
already
it
at a
up.
crossroads. Choosing a path in life is that fork in the road where you make a choice or simply stop living.
So yeah,
But for you, it's not only a crossroad, but a choice. A reflection of your key, the primal energy that flows through everything.
Let me introduce myself. I'm the light and bright side of you, or your inner voice to be precise. An echo
Inner
of balance
voice.
and consequence of your actions as you move forward.
I thought I had auto dialogue progression.
Seems more like you're being light-headed if you ask me, but you'll come around eventually.
Yeah, it's not auto progressing.
But what comes around goes all the way back around. So, it's better to stick to your instincts. You can't fight what's in your nature.
In your nature, and here I was hoping we'd be all about natural selection, survival of the strongest, and so forth. If that's not instinct, then I don't know what is.
So if you guys are wondering, especially for those who haven't seen this game being played, seen a walkthrough, or have done your research on this game, when it comes to the light and dark scenarios of the game, you're probably wondering, okay, so you have paths, you know, be good or evil technically in the game. Does it make a huge difference? Not really. It really doesn't make a slick of difference, except for, like, you know, who's there later in the game and what happens here, what happens there, but not a very giant. It's very superfluous. It's very weird. It's gonna leave it up to that. It's very weird. Let me fix one thing though, because it's bugging me because I didn't fix it before we set up the PC not too long ago. Flip it horizontally. Aha! There we go. Now things are natural. I felt a little weird facing kind of away from the game and the thing. So there you go.
Natural selection is all about evolution and progress, and as soon as there's enough light, darkness will disappear.
Alright. But yeah, it really doesn't make too much of a difference. You can be totally gray in the whole entire game.
Right is always right.
Unless it's left. Then you're just going left.
Stories of death and the bodies left behind. A reminder that we're at the mercy of nature and the one that preys on others.
No way. Meat eaters meat.
Do you remember the beast that shattered your family? Or did you choose to forget? You turned your back on our world and got lost in your own. Meanwhile, the predator only grew stronger.
Also, that beret. Food roll. Alright. Oh yeah, I gotta do all these moves that they're telling me to do right now. Oh yeah, gotta wait until it reloads. Alright, front to attack. Parry. Parry all day long. Alright, broke his weapon. Not bad.
You better make a run for it. This is not the time nor place to end this story.
Ah. Alright. So yeah, we'll do this peak play until it gets kind of into the open world. You guys can kind of see how big the open world is. We'll even press through the open world just a little bit. But I'm going to try to make this peak play a little smaller than some of the usual other peak plays. Mainly because we've already guaranteed that this game is going to be a full playthrough
and live to
on the
fight
channel.
another day. Let us hope you're ready for it when it comes.
Oh, it's in the game. I was like, someone breaking in the house?
The predator isn't the only threat. The wildlife started to
these
mutate
things.
when the end of days began and the tree of life started to die.
The end of days. Alright, so here's your little taste of how the combat is going to be throughout most of the game. If you're going to be melee, that's how it kind of looks. And of course there is small little combinations that you can unlock. And you can even combine this. You combine, it's very simplistic for the most part. You don't have to worry about being too technical, learning like what a 10-button combination. You don't have to worry about that. If you're a person that's looking for more of a simplistic combat in your open world games, this it'll probably be right up your alley. But if you're looking for something that has a little bit more meat on its bones, Biomutant's not for you. Biomutant is not your DMC or Bayonetta. It's not those games. It's not gonna be those games. Definitely. And there we got a component. You put that on weapons and other things. That's mostly for weapons. So, yeah, okay. So this is, I think, one of the temporary things you can do if you wanted. Yeah, because it's not a permanent mod or anything like that. You can just kind of take it whenever. So, in a weird way, this game, the beginning of it, kind of shows you most of what the game's gonna be offering you. There are a lot of games I've played in the past that 10 or 20 hours in, you're learning new features and things to do in the game afterwards. And it's almost a rarity now to see a game like this come out and have some old school feelings to it, to where it's like, oh yeah, after you play this game for about 20 or 30 minutes, you've got the gist of it. And it's like that throughout the rest of the game. And either that could be a good thing, or it can be horrible. It depends on you. For me, I was in the middle of it. There were some times playing
The oil sludges
this game where I was like, ah, fuck, I don't know if I'm gonna...
But some have adapted to
I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this game.
change.
And then I enjoyed
Evolution
it.
has its ways.
Oh yeah, don't forget the parry, Vince. And the game is, quite frankly, not that difficult. You can be like me, and you'll see it during the playthrough, where I'm going to be super reckless, and it will not hurt me in the slightest. It's like, yeah, there are going to be some enemies, and there are going to be enemies throughout the open world that are going to be heavily out-level you, but you can probably still take them, depending on your equipment. If you have the right equipment, you can probably take on any enemy throughout the game. He blew up his friend. And yes, there is friendly fire in this game. Come on, big boy. Ow. Big honker. Hey, hey! Stop it! Oh, big guy's down already. Yeah, you're kind of thinking, it's like, especially in certain fights where you think, oh, this is gonna last a long time, and then like you start seeing their health bar. I was like, oh, melting. Health bar's melting. Shit. Like, I was kind of hoping for incredibly difficult boss fight, but nope. This game is not rewarding for those who are looking for a challenge. You're gonna have to kind of make your own challenges in this type of game. But it's alright, you know. I didn't play Biomutant for the challenge in the first place, so it doesn't affect me. Oh yeah, so there are gonna be some enemies that you can't just straight up constantly keep shooting at. You're gonna have to take away their shields, so that will take some melee. And then after about 2 or 3 hits to the shield, go right back to shooting them. So yeah, flexibility. I was like, yeah, sometimes you're gonna be forced to attack them with melee and all that, but you don't need to. And we leveled up. So I guess I should show you guys some of these menus. Yes, I'm in his ass. I do have to say, when it comes to some of the menus and some of the things you can do in this game, although the combat is very simplistic, what adds to it is the crafting system in which you craft your weapons, craft better, you know, put better things on your armor and stuff like that, and make things as better overall in general. Tends to be very helpful. Alright, first things first, let's go to the character menu. Of course, things will be added once you get to the open world with the map and all that. Can't really see the open world too much yet. We're gonna have to explore, but here are some of the smaller sections. You can literally get from here to here and without riding, like, you know, some type of vehicle or horse. You can get there to here on this map in about 2-3 minutes time. So the map overall, this is actually the full map right here, just kind of fogged out because you haven't explored. But yeah, you can literally see what the map technically looks like in the game. Just foggy in the beginning. Yep, there's nothing past this, nothing past the darkness. This is your playground, and you'll eventually get to explore it once you get out of this area. So that was the map. Character. Alright, so we can level things up. I am going to put
Beefed up.
some strength, increase his, you know, physical, his melee attacks, stuff like that. Alright, then we can put some points into Wung Fu, and so there's different little tokens for that. I'll hide my camera so you guys can see that there are upgrade points in order to invest in. You don't have to spend it right away, or you can kind of save it, whatever. Let's see. I'm gonna put some points in the Crush, which is pretty much, what is it? Yeah, it's the two-handed blunt weapons. I'm kind of thinking. So yeah, let's do that. Put into one attack called Mercury Drop, which is just, this is literally as complicated as the combos can be. You got circle, square, X, square, 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 and then square, square, triangle, and then R2, R2, triangle. That is as complicated as this game's ever going to get. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about memorizations and stuff like that. If you're the type of the people that kind of worry about that kind of thing. Yeah. But let's see. You have your aura stuff, as I mentioned earlier on. This doesn't make a huge difference when it comes to playing the game, so you can treat it as one as it is, but eventually when you get further on into the game, you start to realize that it's not really gonna make a huge difference. You can kind of see where you're kind of going. And then your character's stats and level, you can see where your upgrade points are, what your resistances are on this screen. You have your Wung Fu, so you can still see the upgrade points and how many you have on the screen as well. But you can also kind of see other things here. Maneuvers, all these are pretty much already unlocked, so we can actually do a double jump if we want, and stuff like that. Basic range, all fully unlocked for now. Basic melee, all unlocked, but you can kind of, you kind of get the picture. If you want to unlock dual wield guns, do some gun kata and everything, you can unlock that. Different type of guns as well. I know there's guns, dual wield guns, rifles, automatic rifles, and shotgun. I think I eventually went just full. I went pretty much a full tank. I went rifle, and then I went like Buster Sword. It's like pretty much turned my character into a Final Fantasy character, or a makeshift Final Fantasy Cloud. It's some type of soldier from Final Fantasy VII. And then you have perks. Perks are these permanent upgrades in which, okay, for instance, if I unlock this with a upgrade point, my pretty much loot chance is increased by 10%. So I'll get better loot, and I'll also get better chances of getting loot within that by 10%. And then you have things like Charmer, as a Mount Mania, your biological mount have 5% increase move speed, so you can actually do small little upgrades like that. None of them are giant significance, except for what looks to be this one. Plating add-ons and clothes. Oh, add-ons to clothes and equipment have their armor value increased by 25%. 25% in this game is actually a pretty big deal. So yeah, or any game. You go 25% and up with an increase ratio, pretty hefty. And then there are things like this. You can upgrade your little sentinel, that little robot grasshopper. But it pretty much increases like your base armor, which is automatically unlocked. Health regen, see how much your health when it kicks in, how fast it kicks in, stuff like that as well. And you have things like ricochet, bullets can ricochet, and yada yada yada, etc, etc. So that's the character option. Then you have your inventory menu. This was kind of confusing at first. It's like, what is all going on here? Because you have your inventory, this is here. Like, okay, got all the things I picked up recently. And if I wanted to go to consumables, I would have to, because I'm thinking of pressing L1 and R1 to get to the other ones. Changes the actual top ones. So I have to use D-pad to figure out, okay, what's healing items? So I've picked up mainly only healing items and key energy items, which are small little temporary boosts to health or key, whichever one you're using the most, or you're what's ever getting hit the most. They got that. Melee parts, you'll also be picking up parts for crafting, so you can kind of check that out at any time. Do I have any better armor? Anything better? No. But I can unequip or equipped, and I don't think, I'm not sure. I'm gonna see if we have any new equipment. As you can see, I have picked up kinda nothing. Everything that I have, I already have equipped. Yep. Yep. I pretty much have everything that I needed equipped. That's pretty much my outfits. You can have saved outfits, I think up to 5 different outfits. And pretty much what I did in the playthrough was I had my main outfit, which is my combat outfit, and then I had pretty much 4 other outfits for different hazardous areas. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did. They're pretty much just hazmat suit compilations of like items I have. And then you have your automaton. There is one thing that is missing that is not showing you until there's going to be a couple things that don't open up or won't be on your menu and all that too, and until you get to the actual open world. So we should probably get there now. But yeah, crafting. There is a crafting menu. You can even crafting benches and stuff like that too.
An emergency box from the once was a rare sight.
Yeah, there are some things that are still kind of hidden within the game until you pretty much get to the open world. Once you get to the open world, it's no longer hidden to anyone that plays this game. So let's try and get to the open world so I can show you guys kind of how that looks.
That pipe looks weak. The claw bar should come in handy. Whoa.
And this is pretty much how
it's
the
time to find a way out of this place.
narration
no,
is.
Really, I mean it.
Yep, narration sounds like this and has this tone throughout the whole entire game. So if you play this game for the full 20 to 30 plus hours, and if you don't like it, you can turn it off anytime. Even though this is kind of how the developers and THQ had meant it to be.
The Morks produce biomatter in their multi-organ that...
And yes, the narration will get interrupted from time to time.
They shed under distress, blobs that affect the cellular coding strands of any living being when absorbed, including you.
Yeah, I'm just air juggled him. So you can do stuff like that. I do like the comic book aesthetic though, from time to time. Whenever I do, I actually like pay attention and notice it. It's like, I do like that. A little comic book aesthetic is actually pretty nice. You can't really do anything with those, to be honest. Alright, let's climb up this. Do. Alright, Bunker 1. I just noticed Bunker 101. I don't know if that's like a little nod to Fallout, or is it like, oh, you're learning stuff, so we'll call it 101. That looks like a spaceship.
Toxanol built vessels called arks to save themselves from the impending doom.
Ah, yes.
But was it too late? It is only from the flight logs of the single ark they left behind that we know other arks traveled through the sky and beyond. It seems those that came before us never lost hope in finding a new home for their kind.
that. Yeah, you're gonna get some. Technically, this game's not like super preachy or anything like that, but it is about, you know, what is assumingly humans fucked up their world. This is the aftermath, and now they're having to deal with it other than humans, because humans don't exist anymore. Now these guys have to deal with our stupidity.
Just a few moves left. Make them count.
Oh shit. And you can mess up with that as much as you can. Kinda was not paying attention. Boom. Boom. There you go. Those aren't hard. Those never really become too hard.
There are few records of the chain of events that led to the big apocalypse eons ago, but it's clear the world wasn't prepared for how recklessly the Toxanol Corporation would make its mark on the world. Their rare earth mining and nuclear industries generated tons of waste, and without consideration for the future, they dumped it all in landfills until they ran out of space. That's when they made the big mistake. They began dumping the toxic waste in the surf just off the coast instead, assuming that it would sink and decay with time. And they were right, but no one was prepared for what was about to unfold. Once in the surf, the radiation interfered with the genetics of the wildlife and created bizarre mutations in their offspring. It had an inconceivable impact on biodiversity and the entire ecosystem. The world as they knew it crumbled as nature retaliated. It would never be the same again, and what remained of it became ours.
Yeah, that sums it up. It kind of gives you a gist of like what happened in the past of this universe. You can.
The sound of spark metal going pew pew is never.
And
a good
always,
thing.
yeah, this game has like
It's coming
strange
from
names
behind
for
that door.
things we know. It's like, oh, a gun going off. Oh, they call it spark
A
metal.
warning label. The box looks like a potential brain melt.
You know, goofy little names for a goofy little world. That's pretty much
It's
what it
going
is.
to take a bit of puzzling to short-circuit the door.
Not really. Alright. Wait. Oh shit.
Quite a shock to the
Yeah,
system.
you can actually fuck it up a couple times. Whoops.
Let's try that again.
Keep it like that. Keep it like that. Oh, I already fucked it up. There we go. Good thing I had enough moves.
There you go.
Sometimes you get like maybe one or two chances before you can't make any more mistakes. So you have like room for one or two mistakes at sometimes. Then it'll refresh, and you'll have, you know, room for like 3 or 4 more mistakes.
The wheeled one is outnumbered. You'd better help him out.
The wheeled one. Get fucked, nerds. Air juggle, motherfucker. There was a baby mosquito. That's not good. Not in the game. It was on my mic. What? Then parry.
That's the last of them. Let's talk to the wheeled one before backup arrives.
You don't have to talk to him right away. You can pick up any of the stuff you want. Just like any good game, or at least decent game. You know, dialogue isn't going to interrupt you from doing the real task at hand. Did the enemies that you just defeat drop anything worthwhile? That is the solid major question. Drop some rubbers. Wink, wink.
He wants to thank you for taking his side against the scavengers. He sounds familiar. You just can't figure out why.
Pa, wherefore, where?
He presents himself as out of date. He knows
Out
he's
of
way
date.
overdue, but he hasn't given up.
Coibe o corfabe.
He doesn't seem surprised that you don't recognize him. You were just a child back then, the night everything changed.
All the names in this game is
Twata moti
ridiculously.
huasa.
There have been rumors of a one-eyed Ronin seen outside the Great Wall, and he's happy to see it's true.
Cantita duela bofo.
The legend of the one-eyed child that grew up as an outcast
Legend of the
is
one-eyed
old
monster.
and sad.
Mopu far kobi.
The child could have been anyone, but the evil it had fled had left a mark, a facial scar to remember the past.
Mopu far kobi.
There's no doubt you're the child, and that what Lupa Lupin did to your village, your Muma and Popsy, was the beginning of the end.
Yalawa wat now.
Of course,
He says it
weird
has
names
taken
for
you a long
things.
time to bring the past back up to the present, to find your way back, but he's grateful you have.
Far kobe makoto far titaba.
It was after the attack that the unity fell apart. Your Muma's disciples divided and formed tribes as a reaction to the blight that had fallen upon the land. Had it not been for the Tree of Life, no one would have survived. He hopes you at least remember the tree.
I will warn people this story in this game is very bare bones. Impact of the story from beginning to the end of the game doesn't really change, especially the whole little miniature war thing they're kind of going through, stuff like that. And we're in a flashback. This will happen a couple times in the game, mainly during certain progressions in the game, and also if you find a little dude name, I don't really remember what his name is, but he's considered the Mirage. That's when you kind of learn new things through your little automatron. But I'm gonna pause that right here and kind of discuss a couple things before we end this peak play. Yes, Biomutant will have a much more in-depth look in the future. This is a very weird peak play, since I usually do peak plays of games that I haven't played or have just kind of tried out, but I don't know too much about, but I should check out anyway. But I did enjoy playing Biomutant. It's not a very strong buy for anyone. If I recommend a game to anyone, this wouldn't be a game that would be on the top of my list of games to recommend. But if you want something pretty different, it has a pretty interesting little open world environment and some decent mechanics in certain places, even though some of the major mechanics like combat and how it tells the story and some of the other things are a little lackluster. It doesn't hurt the game to the point to where it's a bad game. You guys will see if anyone does check out the full playthrough, which will be coming very soon, probably like a day or so, starting a day or so after we kind of get this started, after this is uploaded. So yeah, the playthrough will pretty much start the day after. This is all uploaded and everything. It'll probably be streamed most likely on Friday and maybe even on Saturday. So hope you guys see you then for the playthrough and all that. But yeah, without saying anything when it comes to spoilers, when it comes to the story, the things you do that impact the game, it's very minimalistic, and there's no tear-jerking moments. The narration never really gets any better, any worse. If the narration gets worse, it's probably because of repetitiveness and the certain amount of frequency, even if you do turn it down. So that tends to be a problem for the most part, and you can always kind of have the flexibility of turning it off or turning the frequency down. Doesn't, for some reason, feel like it's changed anything. It's like their narrator goes off a lot, and I mean a lot. Probably because he's the only, next to the other two little dudes, is pretty much the only two people that talk. There's like 3 people that speak English in the game. I'm trying to remember if there's anyone else that speaks English, but literally that's the only, narrator and the two, the darkness and the light. That's pretty much it. Man, that's pretty much what you saw is what Biomutant is. Later on, when you get to the open world, you can get horses, vehicles, there's a crafting system. The crafting system is actually one of the more interesting parts, but I kind of forgot that there is this flashback, and then you have to get out of that hole, and you're not guaranteed that the crafting system is going to be available to you right away. I think you have to unlock that a little later on. It'll probably be like in another 10 to 20 minutes from where I am, so it's not too far into the game that it'll get introduced to you. And there are some areas in the game that if your character is about to die from not being able to breathe, you'll get a quest not too far after that. After you get out and get to safety, you'll get a little quest that shows you where a suit is, that you can obtain a suit or gear in order to explore those places without dying, and so on and so forth. So any choke points in the game, they make it very clear to you that, oh, there's a solution to this. We're just going to give you that solution right away. You don't have to explore anything. The game does hold your hand from time to time. It doesn't even need to, since it's not like super difficult. But there is some hand holding in the game. I suggest if anyone's looking for any type of difficulty, for those who want difficulty with open world, somewhat combat type of games, probably want to look somewhere else. But if you want to look for something that's kind of chill and different, by all means for you, I'd say it's a solid, $20 game, if any. 30 at most. Definitely 30 at most. Since this game came out around four and a half months ago at the price of $60, highly doubt it's $60 anymore. I do have to agree with the majority of people that played it and finished it, and I pretty much said their piece where, yeah, I heavily disagree that it should be a $60 game or even a $50 game. Biomutant felt like at most start out as a $50 game, and you can probably, especially if you're not sure of the game, wait for it to be on sale to where you'll catch it at like $20 to $15. That's what it really felt like. It feels like, it's published by a pretty decent publisher, which is THQ Nordic. They're pretty much the people that have acquired many of IP, including one of my favorite IPs, which was the Darksider, franchise. And Yeah, they do some indie stuff too. And this felt like an indie project. I think this game was definitely priced in the worst way possible, treating it as a full $60 AAA title when this game doesn't really have too much AAA polish within it. It's like, I don't know. It's usually the publishers that decide how high is this game going to sell. They're going to get away with selling it for $60. I don't know. Let's ask Bob from down at the accounting area. I don't know. But I mean, overall, I do enjoy this game. I mean, there's a reason why I'm going to do a full playthrough of it. We'll get that rolling. On top of that, though, we got a bunch of other peak plays coming up even after this. I think there's a total of 4 more peak plays just after this one. So yeah, I got a couple more games to cover from other developers and publishers, so you guys have a good one. When it comes to this game, would I recommend getting this game? Yes, only if it's on sale and it's not above $30. And you like open world games that have a little bit of a different twist to it, and you're not too much of a stickler when it comes to the combat, because the combat doesn't get any harder than that, or any more complicated than that, as I should say. But there's a huge amount of flexibility when it comes to the overall game itself. So other than that, you guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always,